As promised, I said I take 2 days off after the last book. So today I am going to read another new book by a local author and also the the present president of IAC, International Association of Coaching. His name, I used to call him Captain Shan. So his full name is Captain Retired M. Shanmugan. His book is a coaching memoir, coaching with respect, one man's journey from captain to coach. And he taught me a lot of things. So it's worth sharing this book with you. And I read some chapters already, but I will start all from the top of it. I mean, start from page 1. His first page, which is Foreword, the Preface, and then chapter 1. Let me see how big is chapter 1. Oh, not too many. So it's easy for me to relate because he taught me a lot of things and he has been guiding us a lot during this pandemic. And he always said coaching, make it a coaching culture within the family, which I practice and it works. So I hope it helps you. Even if you only catch 1% of it, it doesn't matter. It will build over time. That's why coaching is so wonderful. Okay, let's start. Forward. International renowned author and scholar Richard Boyatis opens many of his presentations on coaching by getting his audience on their feet dancing to Aretha Franklin's rendition of respect. Sorry, today the tongue don't seem to twist so well. I hear this in the background as I read Shanmugan D. Murthy's Coaching with Respect. As coaches, we certainly would all agree that respect is important, yet it is a subject not widely discussed in the literature. Shan skillfully applies his framework in 3 separate yet interconnected environments: individual coaching, team coaching, and communication. In each context, he combines a clear description of the model with examples and sample questions. This description of respect and the development of an important foundational concept into a usable model that represents the core of this book is a welcome contribution to our thinking about coaching. The acronyms provides an easy way to remember 7 core concepts that leads to a productive coaching engagement. The principles map easily to the 9 IAC masteries and equally well to the ICF competencies, making it a useful framework that transcends the limits of individual coaching schools and organizations. Shans reminds us that while respect may not be addressed in so many words, lack of respect is a clear path to distrust and disengagement. Thus, taking a closer look at what respect entails using descriptive active language for each letter of the word provides a clear model for placing respect at the core of a coach practices. As organizations are moving towards an ever-increasing incorporation of team coaching, Shan is ahead of the curve in his applications of his respect model to team coaching. As he points out, respect must underlie any collective effort. He shows how his model details with the stages of group development and how to use it to maintain high-functioning teams. Finally, the model is applied to communication more broadly. This discussion broadens the model beyond coaching to overall organizational communication, creating a useful tool for both organizational development professionals and leaders. For me, a bonus is Shan's discussion of his own path. His path to coaching is thought-provoking for anyone considering a career in the field. As past president of International Association of Coaching, I have watched Shan's recent path from hosting an international conference in Kuala Lumpur through becoming a valued part of the IAC's executive team. I can attest that this book is deeply rooted in extensive training and research interpreted through the filter of his own practice. This is a good addition to the library of anyone involved with development work. My apology, today my tongue seems to be uh, a bit too tight to read. Rest today not good. Don't rest then next time. Dr. Susan R. Mayer, past president, International Association of Coaching, adjunct assistant professor, Department of Organizations and Leadership, Teachers College, Columbia University, and Columbia Coaching Certificate Program. That was the foreword. Preface. Over the past 4 years, after every coaching experience, using the respect model, I had told myself I needed to document the methods and the outcomes of the coaching framework that are being used. I have wanted to share my challenges and rationalization on what has worked for me with my colleagues and associates in the coaching and training fraternity. I realized a book had to be written. In the following years, with the encouragement of my life and business partner Grace, a qualified coach in her own right, I started to put my thoughts on paper. The impetus increased when I got involved with the setting up of the Malaysia chapter of the International Association of Coaching and was appointed as a member of Global Board of Governors of IAC. It gave coaches like me in Malaysia a platform to discuss and debate the fundamentals and nuances of coaching. Other coaching bodies that I have had the privilege to interact with enhance my knowledge in the arena of coaching. International conferences where I had the opportunity to listen to thought-provoking papers have played a major role in my collective body of knowledge. Furthermore, my participants in my coaching programs have contributed immensely to my tacit knowledge. I am greatly indebted to their questions, unbridled responses, and the trust they gave me as a coach. While writing this book, it was inevitable that there were long periods of self-reflection. This I had to agree. Even after each coaching session, I have this self-reflection that I'm doing, and it's very wonderful. I was auditing my thoughts and beliefs in terms of coaching and its benefits. The words of wisdom of my gurus, mentors, and senior coaches in my cycle were echoing in my physique all through this project. The works of Sam Kenner, Bruce Tuckman, Sir John Whittemore, and Dr. Mark McCurgo have influenced my work immensely, and I wish to acknowledge their generosity in sharing their research. As I have mentioned in the book several times, my personal and professional lives have changed since I became a coach. As I was coaching, I was learning. 100% agree with you, Captain. There were so many eureka moments for me, and I hope I have managed to capture the essence of them in this book. My communication with my family and friends improved intrinsically. On the whole, the change has enabled me to embrace diversity and inclusivity. Writing a book on a subject matter which is close to your heart is a rewarding experience. I sincerely urge professionals in the learning and development sector to undertake the project of putting their expertise and exposure in a book that others can read and learn. A book doesn't get done with the writer alone. I'm grateful to Tina Fuad and Anda Krishnan who encouraged me and took a personal interest in ensuring the book was published. Their invaluable comments and editing are much appreciated. And of course, to Grace, I want to say that you have been my source of inspiration for not only the completion of this book on respect, spelled as because he used it for his model, a model for team coaching, but for being at my side while I explore new ideas and models to enhance the spectrum of coaching. Chapter 1. Now we go into the book. A personal transformation captain to coach. Quote from John C. Maxwell, the 15 invaluable laws of growth. Live them and reach your potential. You will never change your life until you change something you do daily. Okay, then he put there, what I'm about to share is a personal story. I hope you will be inspired in the same way as people's story have inspired me. The prologue. Sometimes all you need is the touch of an inspiring coach to help press the right buttons to get you going. I find the right person to ignite my passion and I was on my way. Motivation, motivation, motivation. Everything starts with an idea, but only with motivation does an idea transform itself into action. And how does one get motivated in the first place? Where does motivation spring from? I have seen how it can come from the most unlikely of places. A chance conversation, an unexpected encounter, an unusual experience, or a group engagement. Anything, everything, and everywhere. I have seen the push that propels individuals from a diverse range of backgrounds, professionals and non-professionals, to make their first entry into the coaching world. Passion, passion, and passion. Ideas alone cannot sustain an interest in any particular field, nor an excellence be attained without passion. Indeed, the German philosopher Wilhelm Friedrich Hegel could not have said it better centuries ago, for his words still ring true and can be applied to most enterprises of our time. The man who is credited for revolutionizing European philosophy said, "Nothing great in the world have ever been accomplished without passion." It is this innate intensity to embrace our likes and reject our dislike that becomes the driving force behind our successes. A particular dislike for a particular area of work, for example, may compel us to run away from it and yet will open doors for us to succeed in an opposing direction. The choice we make with passion will over time lead us to the right path. For some, the passion comes much later in life, perhaps through a chance meeting of minds or from being in the right place at the right time. Well, for me, it's by accident, but it's a good accident. That was how it was for me. Circumstances created opportunities that nurtured my enthusiasm for coaching as a profession. My discovery wasn't instantaneous for sure. As they say, all good things come to those who wait. In my case, The waiting was filled with a number of questions, and it was a soul-searching phase backed by pragmatic research. After mulling over it for many years, I finally found the motivation to track a new path. Indeed, it was at a specific time in my life while working as an army officer that I developed a passion for coaching, for motivating others. It was a passion that grew with my increasing mastery in the art of training and facilitation, which took root during my early years in the army. This was the start of much explorative and productive work in the area of coaching. My motivation to become a professional coach started with one man, Brigadier General Datuk Pahlawan Muhammad Tairobi bin Abdul Razak, retired, my boss at that time. He had the foresight to set me up for the long haul, mentoring, training, and inspiring me to be a trainer. As I mentioned earlier, motivation can come from many directions, and mine was certainly from this early professional experience. I must admit though that in those days of training, I used the term training, facilitating, and coaching without differentiation. As an instructor in the Army, I enjoyed my work immensely, developing the competencies of the soldiers and officers of the Royal Engineer Regiment. They had come to the School of Military Engineering for their professional development in a specific fields of engineering. These include acquiring supervisory, management, and leadership competencies. I found the pursuit of this combination of skills and the healthy regard for individuality in the development of human capital refreshing and naturally easy to navigate. I was invigorated by the endless possibilities of personal transformation that such an enterprise could offer from a very humanistic and realistic approach. This was then I realized the learning and development was my calling. This was how I began to reconfigure the college of ideas in my mind and went headlong into coaching. The early days saw me exploring experiential learning in training and facilitation. I was fortunate that there was no shortage of experts willing to lend moral and practical support at various junctures of my new career. This spurred me on to take a serious interest in the business of motivating others. It is a business, no doubt, but a humane one. Indeed, I was never far from the professional compass, being surrounded by figures of inspiration who availed of themselves to me with such dedication and willingness. I owe a lot to Lieutenant Colonel Basri bin Omar, retired, who guided me and showed me the ropes of collective training. What I loved about training and coaching was the two-way engagement with trainees. This is what I love about coaching too. I found fulfillment in witnessing at the first hand the applications of knowledge and the positive transformation at the workplace and in the trainees. In a way, it was the ripple effect that I valued most, sharing what was instilled in me with those who have hunger for change. I did not just pick up practical skill, but I learned to approach the job with keen ears and eyes, looking closely at aspects of human condition. The transformation that I was responsible for in others, I was soon to discover, helped to transfer me. It was a win-win situation. It was clear to me that the more you help others to discover themselves, the more opportunities there are for you to learn about yourself. This experience has molded and inspired me to delve further into coaching. This is another truth that I discovered. So you are welcome to take up coaching. You can, Google about it, or you can send me an email, and I'll send you the link towards Captain Shan, because Captain Shan is now the president of IAC International. Inspiration and empowerment from within and from outside. After leaving the Army in 1994, I continued working in the learning and development industry, applying training competencies and experiential learning methods to develop individuals and teams. Based on their specific learning needs was my focus. This was a continuation of my personal transformation exploring, as I had been doing for several years by then, and eventually entering the challenging yet rewarding world of coaching. Having access to a number of illuminating mentors was a crucial part of my transformative development. Admittedly, I was fortunate I found myself in a great place from the word go, having had the good fortune of benefiting from the input of several formidable professionals in the field at the start of my coaching career. During the transition period from the military to the civilian corporate world, a relative of mine, Rose Walters, an experienced management consultant from Brisbane, offered to mentor me. Rose was instrumental in convincing me to pursue coaching commercially, prompting me to think about training and facilitation in a more directional and serious way. It did not happen overnight, of course. My dedicated mentor was consistently there to spur me on, almost daily, stimulating me to discover my own wisdom in the field of coaching and answering my questions patiently. As someone in the throes of change, I found Rose's outward display of confidence in my ability useful in helping me negotiate the initial uncertainties. You could say Rose was to me as a crayon art to a child. In my mentor's good hands, I paid attention to my inner voice so I could visualize and color my new world bit by bit. Through his unwavering belief in me, Rose empowered me to fire my imagination despite my tentativeness. Sometimes all you need is the touch of an inspiring coach to help press the right buttons to get you going. This was my personal introduction to coaching, and I certainly liked what I saw. I have never turned back and instead steadily ascend the path of coaching. Indeed, in helping individuals create change for themselves, the coach sees himself as an enabler rather than a director, a figure of empowerment and not of authority. Inevitably, this process of enablement is break away from the traditions and boundaries of the teaching world, where learner-centeredness and self-exploration are not emphasis in knowledge acquisition. Certainly, this idea of empowerment does not favor the old top-down teacher-to-people approach which appealed to me. It was a step in the right direction and very different from my training days in the army. Yet at the heart of it, the basis for wanting to share knowledge to enable development was the same. It was I was soon to discover this process of participatory learning and self-development that freed me from the stranglehold of fear and self-doubt. It was to eventually accord me a recent detour. I feel in control. Freedom in self-learning. The die has been cast. Coaches can attest to the fact that this process steps into existing knowledge and skills and allows individual groups, organizations to determine their own possibilities, motivating them to utilize their expertise in the way they want to. For me, the experience of exploring this freedom in thinking and learning was the first step. In those formative years, I was invigorated by hours of exchanges and discussion with Ross, who remained focused throughout our engagement, showing flexibility in allowing me, his coachee, unleash my potential. Ross did not force or direct me to embrace coaching. Rather, he allowed me to take my time to decide. In fact, there was a point when he stopped talking about coaching. He had planted the seed, and suffice to say, the seed grew, and I soon started thinking seriously and began to form my own ideas about coaching. It was a life-changing experience. If there is one thing that coaches are familiar with, it is the sense of trepidation and disquiet that participants bring to the fore with their embryonic steps. I was no different. Ross saw that in those initial periods I was hesitant and unsure of my capability. I could not trust my intuition and always looked to my coach to give me the answer. Soon I realized that this could not happen. Coaches don't give you answer. Coaches do more than that. I had to be the master of my destiny. Yeah, that's exactly what we aim to do. I had just started my training business in the mid-90s, and much of my work was in outdoor team building. Coaching was a different ballgame, and to be fully immersed in it as a profession, I had to take risks and jump through hoops. I was sailing into uncharted waters. Sound interesting? However, as a good mentor and coach, Ross was tenacious, relentlessly engaging his protege in ways that steadied the nerves, engaged the mind, body, and spirit, and ignited my passion. It was a time-consuming affair, but his perseverance and my faith in the process soon encouraged me to be self-explorative, reflective, and more importantly, expressive. Over time, I developed an awareness of what and the how of my pathfinding mission and to eye problems differently, which became the impetus for realizing new opportunities. No more were the barriers that fester in a fearful and negative mind. I was ready to be a coach. It was apparent that Rose coaching had enabled me to be more focused and to understand my ambivalence. Through the exploratory journey, I established some firm ideas about where I was and where I wanted to head to. I could not have done it under a cloud of self-doubt. It was not that I had swept away my uncertainties and my weakness under a rug, but I had begun to face them and was learning how to have a more positive approach towards them in relation to my ambition. You could say I was beginning to inch closer to understanding the inner me. My realization intensified each time I went through the coaching process. Gradually, the word coaching started to figure prominently in my daily life, constantly ringing in my head like a vision of ice cream floating in the mind of a child. The die indeed has cast. Ross Walters believed in me, empowered me, and continuously validated me. After every conversation with him, be it face to face or over the phone, I reflected on them and found that I was more capable of understanding my own potential that had lain hidden until then. Where is your potential? Bring it out. This motivated me to improve my performance in our routine exchanges. Ross was there to provide me with the resources and the support structure when I needed it, and his approach was one of enabling. He was only directive when he wore his mentor's hat. The transformation had begun. This was coaching as it was meant to be. I understood it right away. Neither Rosewater nor those who came after him, who have inspired and fired my passion and supported my research for change, were prescriptive in their approaches. This was the real deal, and I found it both stimulating and useful. I was able to relate to these initial coaching processes because of their fundamental approaches to understanding and respecting the diversity of the human condition. I felt this was something which spoke strongly to me, that I wanted to follow the trail. Through the application of self-directed learning, I orientated towards the new direction I had been looking for, gradually feeling more and more in tune with my innate passion for wanting to qualify as a coach. Ross has enabled me to find and respond to my inner voice. This was coaching at its best. No excessive directives, no imposition of values, no adherence to a set of preconditions, just the freedom to explore and create possibilities for oneself. And the plenty of space for self-reflection and realization. This is my favorite part. Realization and self-reflection. A framework for coaching have been established, opening doors and creating new pathways. In 2004, I was introduced to Mr. Francis Fernandez, an international trainer, facilitator, and coach. We had a series of meetings, and each encounter seems to consolidate my passion further. Together, we began to chart my new path. He showed me how, by asking the right questions at the right time, coaching could be a powerful transformative tool. Subsequently, under the mentorship of Professor Dr. Leonard Yung, I began to explore the impact of learning environments on the developmental and transformative process. It was Dr. Leonard Yung who introduced me to the Leonard Personality Inventory, LPI, holistic model. Very interesting model. Google it too. Google to find out, yeah. With this model, I started paying attention to creating physical and mental spaces which lend themselves to establishing a positive work climate. These secure and emotionally safe environments go a long way in developing emotionally excellent individuals and teams. The model contributes to a deeper understanding of how we think, feel, and act, and inevitably supports the transformation journey using self-directional learning approaches. The breakthrough was to come when I came across an advertisement by the University of Malaya Center for Continuing Education, offering a certified executive coach training program. Looking back, I can say it was the best investment I have ever made. I must admit I could not afford the fee at the time, but with the support of my business partner and wife, Grace, who insisted that I enroll, allocated the funds for the program. After I completed the program with MSIT in short, in 2007, I learned what the profession truly entails. It immediately took me back to the initial conversation with Ross. I finally understood what Ross Walter has been talking about and why he had enabled me to consider pursuing coaching competencies. What people say about one door shutting and the other opening can only be possible with a personal determination and the unyielding passion to forge ahead in our quest for change. I have developed an equivocal love for instrumenting change in others and I have been extremely blessed. The door swung open in my face, and where once I would have hesitated, this time I marched on into a brand new world. After a spell of being mentored and coached, I felt able and ready to take those initial steps. I have to give my I have to give credits to my years in the army because in an informal way, I have used coaching methods. The more I delved into my new profession, the more I found myself reflecting upon my experience in the army. Coaching was something I have no longer deterred about. It was soon to become a way of life. My second coaching certificate was the Certified Solution Focused Coaching Program. It brought to my attention the rudiments of the solution focused approach and its impact on both individuals and teams. From here, I became swiftly enamored with the principle of solutioning, advocated by Dr. Mark McCrago from the Center for Solution Focus at Work, who reasoned, if you focus on problems, you become an expert in the problem. And if you focus on solution, you become an expert in the solution. As I was approached for more coaching training and coach certification programs, Grace, my partner, and I were inspired to start our very own coach certification program. We conducted research on the available coaching programs in the region, as was compelled to design a program which would meet the learning and experiential needs of aspiring coaches. Together with a former coachmate, Nohaniza Abdul Hamid, we developed the Certified Professional Coach Program endorsed by Federation University Australia, formerly known as University of Ballarat. This was also to provide accredited avenue for coaches to pursue the IAC certification. Adiba Saleh, a certified coach, joined our team, adding values to the program. The School of Coaching and Mentoring under Team Coach International Sundram Berhad was subsequently set up to design, develop, and conduct research on the areas of coaching and mentoring. I wanted it to serve as a platform for promote coaching awareness and to make the industry more widely accessible to the public. I went from doing just that, and if I may add, it was no mean feat. Building and expanding the School of Coaching and Mentoring was a learning curve and was undoubtedly one of the most challenging missions I have ever undertaken at that time. But, ever the military man, I kept a firm grip on things, staying focused from the onset. There were teething problems as one might expect when a new enterprise is set up, that only a few knew about coaching at the time of its conception. Somehow did not seem to deter me from trying to introduce it to many who have never heard of it. Instead, I saw it as an opportunity to grow a people-friendly company that could make everyone amenable to the coaching process. I offer clients the means to develop the wherewithal to answer questions they never thought capable of answering, questions which they sometimes did not think they have the answers to in the first place. There it was, my first attempt at solutioning, putting problems aside right at the drawing board. I feel a certain kind of freedom, and yet I was firmly rooted by my aspiration. Problems were seen as a challenges to rethink approaches and values, and more specifically to help tighten up. From where I gained such confidence and passion, it was like the boy with the crayons and the blank sheet all over again. Only this time, there was certainty and greater creativity and definitely maturity. In 2011, I became a member of the IAC Association of Coaching, in abbreviation is IAC, and started the IAC Malaysian chapter. In 2013, I was invited to serve on the global board of governors of the IAC as the chapter committee chair. Team Coach International became the IAC Mastery licensee authorized to teach the IAC Masteries. Parallel to this development in coaching was my involvement with the International Facilitators Association, known as IAF. This was where I was first introduced to facilitation. I apologize. Today my tongue really don't know how to twist. I was the country representative of IAF for 5 years and the founding president of the Malaysian Association of Facilitators, which was formed in 2008. I was that there were specific methods and skills. In facilitation as in coaching, they too were different from training and other learning and development approaches. In August 2014, after going through a series of assessments by the IAF, I was certified as a professional facilitator by IAF. My learning road. Reflecting on the long road I have traversed to get where I am today, I would say that the most challenging task I faced was at the start of my venture. It wasn't easy to garner interest in training and development in the early days. Whoever heard of motivation of groups of adults getting together so that they can move forward? For me then, it wasn't just about making the path ahead smooth for my personal transformation, but also ironing out the difficulties in convincing potential clients about intrinsic values of coaching for them. Unlike the army, commercial enterprises and organizations did not always have the resources at their disposal then to readily embrace learning and development in their project. Yet I strongly believe that had there been a better understanding of the importance of coaching human growth and development in the workplace, many enterprises would not doubt have found a way of engaging with these processes and taken them as an invaluable investment. I have a passion for learning and growing. In fact, I would even say that I am driven by curiosity and the spirit of learning follows me like a shadow. There are always lessons to be learned from experiences. I know this only too well, for I never knew my own potential before I joined the army. Yet, I have acquired a lot from being a trainer there, discovering the continuous personal and professional development serve a clear purpose, and that self-discovery is the most precious gift you can give yourself. I am a believer of lifelong learning. Life is a journey, and along the journey, we get insight into what competencies we require to help us live a purposeful life. My journey has just begun. End of chapter 1. Tomorrow, I will read chapter 2, which is coaching as I see it. So, you can contact Team Coach International. I will put the company's name there so that you can get in touch with Captain Shan or Grace or their team. And I hope you are interested to find your intrinsic value. Otherwise, you can send me an email and then I can also contact them for you. Either way is okay. So you just send me an email. Hope you like the reading. And again, my apologies. I don't know why today my tongue keep on twisted on certain words. Maybe 2 days rest is not a good choice. Okay. So see you tomorrow. Bye bye.